Hi everyone, welcome to today's Loop and Learn presentation on Bolusing for Meals Part 3, Bolusing for Challenging Meals. If you have missed our first two presentations on bolusing for meals and the carbohydrate screen and bolusing for complex meals with protein and fat, these can be found on the Loop and Learn YouTube channels. My name is Sarah Goya and I'm one of the Loop and Learn admins. I have been using the DIY system since 2016 and have been looping for the past 3 years. For this third video, we thought it would be fun to cover a variety of meals and foods that can be challenging to figure out. Come along for the ride to hear the collective wisdom of the Loop and Learn admins as a starting point for figuring out how to bolus for tricky foods. These guidelines are just starting points. You'll need to test out your own bolus strategies and absorption time while counting for carbs, proteins, and fats. If you like what you hear, please press the like button below and subscribe to our channel to be notified when our next presentations come out. If you have any questions, please reach out on our Loop and Learn Facebook page or write in the comments below. Let's go. The Loop app is a do-it-yourself closed-loop algorithm. This presentation is provided to assist you in making your own decisions in consultation with your healthcare professionals regarding your own diabetes self-management. You take full responsibility for building and running this system and do so at your own risk. Please remember that the Loop app is not FDA approved for therapy. Let's jump in with fun and problematic foods. We came up with a beginning list. Feel free to ask us to share our advice on other meals that you find difficult. We included pizza, county fair food including ice cream, chocolate, donuts, etc., French fries, steak and potatoes, ethnic foods, and more. Pizza. So, before you dig in, it's important to calculate the carbs for pizza, which is really carbs, proteins, and fats. First, decide on a portion of carbs to pre-bolus 15 minutes in advance. You can figure this out by repeating the meal and tracking. For entry 1, fast carbs, which are the sugars in the sauce and dough, deliver when you start eating for 1 hour. For entry 2, also entered at the same time you begin to eat, enter the rest of the carbs for 3 to 4 hour absorption time. For the third entry, this will be protein and fat, starting at about 1.5 hours into the future for 5 to 8 hours. These 3 entries can all be entered when you start eating. Keep track of the meal and repeat until you get the results you'd like. If you're feeling extra risky, attempt to slice the pizza without a pre-bolus. Once again, calculate the carbs, proteins, and fats as accurately as possible. When you're ready to eat, enter your first entry for slightly less than 1/2 of the total carbs for 3 to 4 hours. For entry 2, entered at the same time, enter it for the rest of the carbs. Start 1 hour in the future to last over 6 hours. Side note, pizza can be 45 to 65 grams of carbs per slice, so keep trying until you have figured this one out. Ice cream, yum! Let's look at simply ice cream, either scoops in a bowl or on a cone. Calculate your carbs, fat, and protein. For ice cream, it's a good idea to pre-bolus a percentage of your carbs 15 minutes before you eat. Enter the carbs once you begin eating with an absorption time of 2 to 3 hours. Since there is fat in some ice cream, you'll need to experiment on whether you need a second extended bolus starting a little later. Some admins use a technique called super bolus by adding 1 hour of basil to your bolus to better assist with the fast-acting carbs. What about when you decide to splurge? An ice cream sundae with all of the toppings. This is where you need to be honest about how much ice cream and how much toppings. As before, a pre-bolus is essential, but our admin suggested the first bolus to cover all the fast carbs and then recheck and check again to see if you need a second bolus for any of the carbs you missed or undercounted. Once again, a super bolus might be a great idea. French fries or potato chips or tortilla chips. Seriously, are you getting hungry about now? Again, pre-bolus is a great idea. Plus, count all the fast carbs, including ketchup, etc., with a duration of 3 hours. For the fats and proteins, you can do a second bolus to start in the future and lasting about 5 hours. Chinese food. Here's an example from Panda Express. Pre-bolus for up to 50% of the total carbs that you expect you will be eating. At entry 1, cover 30% of the carbs starting about 5 minutes before eating. Entry 2 should cover the remaining 20% of the total carbs when you are finished eating. Mexican food, a favorite in Southern California. One admin does not pre-bolus, suggesting that at a restaurant you never know when the food will actually be served. Entry 1 covers about 80% of the carbs that you are counting with a 5-hour absorption. Entry 2 will equal the remaining carbs starting at 1.5 hours for 5-hour absorption. From Loop and Learn admin Glenn, Mexican food falls into a category that I generally call eat-out food. I generally do not make it at home, and I don't really know the exact components of the meal. In general, I do not consider the nutritional disclosures, even at a national chain, to be very accurate. I rely heavily on food logging and prior experience to get it right. For a first-time meal at a place I might return, I log the meal items in the Tide Pool comments and search for it when I eat at the same place again. Chocolate. When eating chocolate, first calculate the carbs. A pre-bolus most likely can be eliminated. In general, total carbs can be entered in one entry at the time you eat with a 3 to 5 hour absorption. Pro tip: do not use the default absorption time of 2 hours when utilizing the emojis. The darker and more fat in the chocolate, the longer the absorption time. Sometimes you just want things to be easy, so have chocolate the easier way. Low-carb dark chocolate with high cacao and low added sugar. The Hot Shots bar is a naturally low-carb chocolate bar. It does not have any of the alcohol sugars that lead to an upset stomach. It follows the normal rules of bolusing for high fats. Calculate the carbs with an entry of 4 to 5 hours when you start eating. The more chocolate you eat, the longer the absorption time. Steak dinner with baked potato and veggies. Once again, consider a pre-bolus and perhaps do 3 boluses, 1 for potato, 2 for the fat, and 3 for the protein. Low-carb dinner with veggies. You may pre-bolus for the broccoli. Entry 1 for the carbs over 3 hours. Entry 2 for the protein and fat in the future for about 5 hours. Pro tip: especially when eating out, do your best to estimate what's in your meal, but don't forget to add in cooking fat. Depending upon your protein and fat percentages, the fat in a meal can really add up. Carol makes a killer low-carb quiche. Here, she shares Phil's strategy for bolusing, including no pre-bolus, but 2 separate entries. Entry 1 starting now for 3 hours, entry 2 starting in 1.5 hours for 5 hours. And winding up with the adult T1Ds pudding shots. You may want to pre-bolus for the liqueurs, which are higher in fast sugars than vodka, tequila, etc. Cover the milk over 2 hours and the carbs in the pudding. Have fun as you experiment for what works the best. This wouldn't be a good presentation without a Loop and Learn reminder that your settings and your meal entries are very important. Please check and recheck your settings. If you have questions, please reach out on the Loop and Learn Facebook group. I hope this was helpful for you. Please check out the additional links listed here. Post your comments and questions below or on the Loop and Learn Facebook group. And most of all, thank you for listening.